So the point is, if we're going to love the way God loves, if we're going to love the way God loves, if we're going to forgive the way God forgives, then that means we must choose, as God does, to forget the future. Okay? That's what forgiveness is. If we can't forget our preconceived ideas, our prejudices, our biases, our judgments of other people, and accept them in the here and the now with the unadulterated, pure essence of green emerald light, which is the love of God being poured out like light from our heart chakra, if that is not what other people are receiving from us, then we are failing to love the way God loves. We are failing to forgive the way God forgives.
Forgiveness is based on, really ultimately, on what is in the mind of God. We are told in the Course that this world and the seeming split mind-induced separation is not in the mind of God. The mind of God sees us being at home, complete, and not in any way vulnerable to anything or in any kind of a diminished state. It doesn't see that we can be in a diminished state, and so we cannot be. In other words, reality, God is powerful, all-powerful, so that the reality that God knows is the reality that there is. That is reality. If God knows it, it is. His thought equals is. Okay. So, if this world is not His thought, then is it? No, it's not. It is not. Okay, it's not real.
It's illusion.
There is no isness about something that is not in the mind of God.
And this upside-down world is not in the mind of God. Because, this is not a reality that He created.
Right.
Okay.
So it doesn't exist in the way that things that exist do.
It doesn't exist in the mind of God, and if we want to exist in the mind of God, then we need to recognize that this upside-down, insane world doesn't exist for us either, because the moment we can just make the lights go out, then we are in heaven. We are returned home.
We have to understand that what does exist, what is real for us, is everything else is one-dimensional, except what is three-dimensional is the fact relationships, forgiveness, love, unconditional love, willingness to join with the light, and that dance, that joy of being a co-creator and being creative. Okay, we can choose either to be creative or we can be, this very played out sort of a almost half-dead energy, and very despondent and declining energy. So that's what is happening in the Earth's density. We're falling deeper into the density, and we're continually more losing our way and forgetting who we are and who God is, what our real life is. We're like a fallen star that had landed deep into, a sand pit, like Meteor Crater or something, but we're forgetting our way. But the thing is, the truth of this is that God's grace does not allow us to be a falling star. We never left. We never left. The Course says that we will wake up and find that we are still safe and warm, tucked into our little bed, as it were, with our Father tucking us in at night. That's how it is right now, in truth. We're not roaming a savage world, being beaten and bloodied by it, feeling vulnerable. That's not happening for us in reality. This is sort of a dream state. There's the analogy of the dream. So,
seems more like a nightmare from what I can tell.
Right. That's right, but it's our choice. I mean, we were up for it, so we had illusions about it, obviously, that it was going to be cute, it's going to work all kinds of ways, maybe not this time or that time, or the next time, or the other way, but we don't ever see that in any significant way. Of course, we have to decide whether we're satisfied and whether it's working significantly or not. I don't find it to be. I don't. All this stuff about the false front government and all of its insidious Star Wars type, Darth Vader type actions in the world do not seem to me to be the description of something that's working. Okay? I'd say that's not working. It's not working, it's not going to work. So what do? You have to realize, okay, I don't need to have agita, I don't need to get all in a knot, and start feeling sick. The thing is that I remember that the light is always coming from God, and it's always available to include me, to lift me above the battlefield, as the Course calls it, so that I can realize, what's important here is that I'm entitled to miracles, and I'm about having them. So the Course tells me that what miracles are going to do for me is be able to thin out this little patina over, reality, and this little membrane that's between me and the real universe, and I'm going to actually be able to pass right through it. And that's a good trick, just like walking on water. I'm going to actually, it's like in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, when the surface dwellers, after their nuclear event, they come and try to create in the mind of the apes this belief that there's all this fire and they can't pass through. And so, they have to understand that it's an illusion. It's the same thing here. An illusion is being set up of, we know that we can walk through the fire. It's not there. We can walk right through, and that's what we're going to do.
So this world is the primary motivator in most everything that drives people in this world is fear. Is that an accurate statement?
Well, you have to understand that terror is the natural reaction to finding that, you now seem to be separate from everything that you are. You no longer have a clear sense of your own identity, where you came from or where you belong, and everybody now seems to be separated and separate, forlorn and alone, and basically it gives the appearance of everything having fallen apart all of a sudden.
Some people give birth underwater and the baby comes up out of the water, and they don't have to slap its butt to get it to breathe, okay? Because it just happens. Now, in a modern-day clinical environment of the hospital where white people wear white long robes and people lay down and give birth with their legs in the stirrup, and it's very clinical, but it's difficult because it's not a natural posture for a woman to sit when she's giving birth. But still, it's part of the Western culture. We know what we're doing. This is modern medicine, and so they give birth to the child, and the first thing that they do is slap the baby's butt. And what does the child experience? It experiences terror from the very first goddamn minute that they came into the world. They're terrorized, okay? And it doesn't stop. It never fucking stops, okay? But they learn to cope. They learn to cope.
Collectively, we said that we wanted this. So here it is. The universe is something that gives you what you want, always. God can never be less than good. The universe is not going to withhold from you the opportunity to experience, what it would be like, to have actually been able to, recreate yourself. But the only thing is, and you can't in reality do it. It's an illusion. You can go through the illusion of it seeming to be. that you had a fall, that you left God, and that you redefined yourself as now something that is more commensurate with, third density and what we know as the earth plane. So you have now seemed to recast yourself as something that dies, and everything dies here, and everything's somehow, on the way to death or dying as you speak, So, and all of that because there was a desire to come into physicality. So here we are in it, and it's terror. Terror was used in right after Jesus' time. It's been used ever since. Probably was used before. So terror is what people experience in the earth plane, and that.
Oh yeah, one of the most terrifying things is the bronze bull. I mean, that's when the Romans conquered Greece. That was one of the things that they were anxious to get their hands on because they heard about it so much. It was like a technology of torture. They'd build this fucking bull with a little trap door in its belly, and they'd shove people up there, and then they'd put the fire underneath, and that you'd hear the guy scream, while he's steaming. And it's like, just imagine taking a lobster and dropping it in hot water. It's not screaming, it's steaming.
Yeah, it would be like boiling people in oil. They did that too. They did. They believed that people were bodies. So they believed that they were vulnerable because they were bodies, and bodies die. So now, the thing was that you appeared to be bonded to some organic unit that could experience every kind of pain and terror, and that's who you were. So this is all very, very frightening. I mean, if you don't have any answers to this, and you don't know how to rectify it, and you believe that you're completely and utterly alone, I think that this is extremely dismaying and mind-bending. You have to understand that this is trauma. People have to leave the world and then they don't know what to do but come back. They dive back in again, but they've been traumatized. And, the trauma is going to follow them right back in again. And then they're going to start getting another dose of it. You haven't healed from the trauma you got the last time, in many cases. So it is terror, and it is trauma. But the thing is that in the last analysis, from God's point of view, it isn't anything at all. So there is no future here that God knows about because it doesn't concern itself with what's happening in this plane. If it did accept in its mind that you were here and that this world were real, if that became part of the thought of God, then we'd be trapped. God would then make it real by thinking it was, by having that in its mind. So then here's the new reality that we really are here, that there really is a future here. And the future, what is the future of horror, of terror? Well, it's death, So there really would be death if God believed that this was our future and we were here. You see that? It cannot believe that. It cannot afford, if it wants to save us, to put that in its mind. And so God does not have this world in its thought.
So let me work with that a little bit. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here, okay, and postulate something that maybe no one else has ever postulated, okay? And it's going to be irreverent, and it's going to be sacrilegious, and it's going to be taboo, and it's going to be offensive, and it's going to be controversial, okay?
Well, that fits with the time we're in, so.
Well,
nobody will even bat an eye.
Right. So what I'm going to suggest is that the God of the Bible was the divine represented by man in a slightly distorted way, but not really that distorted. The truth is still there, okay?